Now, as you know, because the mainstream media slavishly told you so, the government has done a deal. The government has done a deal with Blackrock, who are very big globally, in fact, the biggest global investment financing firm in the world. And apparently they've done a deal, a $2 billion deal, to help the government meet its goals of being 100% renewable in energy. This wonderful deal announced by the Prime Minister. It's a game changer. It's sending him rigid, basically, the Blackrock deal. But problem with all the coverage 2 days ago was it didn't actually tell us what the deal was. Yesterday we had Megan Woods, the Minister of Energy, or whatever she is, saying, well, BlackRock's actually not putting $2 billion into this investment fund, and neither is the government. So a lot of people, and I thought I was just an idiot and I didn't understand that there was some secret message in all the coverage I've read. A lot of people are saying, what is the deal and where is the deal and does it exist? So I thought the best thing would be to go to someone who is an expert on deals. And we found someone. There's a company called JMI Wealth who do investment banking and financing and other stuff, and way above my pay grade. One of their directors is Andrew Kelleher, and he joins us on the line now. Andrew, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Oh, my pleasure, Sean, my pleasure.
Look, call me naive, but to me,
I would never do that.
To me, a deal is something that you agree on with a handshake or you sign a contract where two or more parties agree to do certain things, generally by way of performance of a service or providing a good or paying money in return for the good or return for the service. It's an agreement or a contract for parties to do various things. That's a deal. Am I wrong there, or is that generally what a deal is?
Well, in broad terms, yeah, you're right. A deal has two parties and there's something that happens, there's an outcome, correct?
All right. And we're told there's a deal between the government and Blackrock, but we don't know what it is that everyone's doing, apart from making an announcement. Is that right?
Yeah. Look, I have to admit, I was perplexed was the term that I was using when the deal was announced, and because look. Let's just pull it back to the basic principle, shall we? Because a lot of people out a lot of people out there don't necessarily understand what a fund is, and
me included.
So essentially, what's been announced here is that BlackRock have said they will set up a fund. So that's a legal structure, right?
Yeah.
And they will try and attract people to invest into that fund, and so the $2 billion number. That's just simply a target.
Oh, so it's an aspirational goal.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of those around at the moment, aren't there?
Yeah.
Aren't there, Sean? So that's the goal. The goal is to raise $2 billion. So once they've very kindly taken that money off people, they will then look for things to invest into. And they won't do this for nothing. They will charge a nice little fee along the line.
Who do they charge the fee to?
Well, to the investors. So the investor pays. You pay a fee for these guys to manage that money, and then that
you've put into the $2 billion fund. So what in broad terms for $2 billion? What's BlackRock going to get that out of that percentage-wise for managing the fund?
Well, we have no idea, and this is
what's an industry standard? Give me a ballpark.
Well, it kind of depends on what they're doing, Sean, because if you're just managing money, say, if you're buying listed equities, or if you're buying stuff that's already listed on the stock exchange, then those fees could be quite small. I mean, they could range from anything from it could be 1%, it could be 0.5%. But if these guys are investing into slightly more sort of startup deals, if this has more of a private equity flavour on it, well, then the fees are an awful
they're
lot
not.
higher.
So just in basic terms, BlackRock aren't putting money into this; they're making money from it.
Well, there's a whole lot of stuff that we don't know, Sean, and that's the issue. So we don't know whether BlackRock are putting any money in. We don't know whether the government's putting any money, even though they say that it's been set up in partnership with the government. So there's just a whole lot of stuff that we don't know.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you from your point of view? Is it possible to set up a fund like this under current New Zealand law without having to get any favour or anything else from the government? If you wanted to, and you're a big fan, I'm setting up a fund for sustainable investment of $2 billion. Do you need the government to help you do that, or is that legally possible and doable under current New Zealand rules and regulations?
Well, Sean, not only is it legally possible and legally doable, but it's being done all over the shop at the moment. And this is one of the things that's somewhat perplexing. Like I've got a list of current generation transactions in front of me. So these are transactions, these are deals that are going on at the moment. These are projects that are going on at the moment. There is tens of billions of dollars worth of projects going on at the moment in geothermal, in solar, in wind, and these are happening right across the country. They're happening from the existing generators who are doing this, who are currently building solar, building wind, building geothermal. But then there's a whole lot of private enterprise that are doing this as well. So this is happening all over the place.
Okay, so the need for a deal doesn't actually exist. If Blackrock just wanted to do this, they could. If
Correct.
That's what they're doing, though, because we lack detail, we're speculating. All right, then. So, this leads me... So I'm just trying to think logically through this as a layperson.
Sure.
So either this is just a big bunch of PR hooey, or the deal is that the government gives this particular fund some sort of break, some sort of advantage, some sort of thing they can sell to potential investors as an edge.
Yeah, well, we don't know, and it may be. So, look, there are some elements of this that let's sort of talk about it in slightly more detail. This sort of big, long list of deals that I've got sitting in front of me are very much in the generation space. Now, when this deal was talked about, it has talked about accelerating investment into other parts of the sort of, I suppose, the environment. So it's all very well generating all of the electricity, but you do then need infrastructure to actually allow the rest of the country, if net zero or 100% renewable is your goal, there's a whole lot of other stuff that has to be put in place. So you need electric vehicle charging infrastructure, you potentially need battery storage. So there's a lot of other stuff that could potentially need, but green hydrogen has been mentioned in here as well. So look, we don't know whether there is some sort of transaction that's been lined up in the background, but essentially, I mean, the government's already given Blackrock a bit of an edge by putting them on the front page of every newspaper, and not just in New Zealand, Sean. This was news right around the world. Go and Google it. Go and Google Blackrock New Zealand governments, and things pop up everywhere. So I just don't really understand why the government has chosen to make a sort of a large announcement. I mean, this is the Prime Minister.
My other question is, sorry, call me naive, if the government says it's done a deal, presumably there's a document somewhere with a deal on it, or there's a heads of agreement. And I'm sorry, as a New Zealand taxpayer, when my government and citizen, when my government does a deal, I want to know about it and I want to see it.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that they have done a deal, or they're just simply promoting the fact that Blackrock are going to do a deal. And then
but TVNZ told me there was a deal. TVNZ told me there was a groundbreaking deal. And it was a watershed moment.
BlackRock are launching a fund. Yeah, well, there's information that we simply don't have. But I suppose the other point I want to make as well is that there are other ways that this could be done as well. And there are other parties in New Zealand that are already involved in this. Think of the tens of billions of dollars that are sitting in all the KiwiSaver funds. And there are KiwiSaver managers out there that are already looking for transactions in this space. You've got businesses like Infratil, New Zealand-owned businesses. It's perplexing, and I suppose when I see something that is that perplexing, I ask myself, do I have all of the information? And at the moment, I'm not sure we have all of the information.
So would you agree, and we kind of reached this point yesterday, it's either a massive piece of PR fluff or our government has traded away something to Blackrock to give them an edge?
I honestly couldn't comment on the latter. On the former, is it a PR exercise? I think 100%. I think they've got this goal of 100% renewable energy. There are a certain amount of there is disagreement, I suppose, in the industry as to whether or not you want to go to 100%, or whether that last sort of 3 or 4% is actually just too expensive, and you don't, the return on that is not necessarily there. In a sense, and I'm not a clean energy expert. This is almost like a solution looking for a problem, but it feels to me like an exercise in promoting that net zero, 100% renewable.
So almost just electioneering with Blackrock. Hey, that's been very good of you. And once again, thank God I'm not losing my mind. And I've talked to an expert who kind of has. Honestly, I was sitting there going, hey, the Emperor's got no clothes. Does anyone else see that? But it's good to have an expert confirm it. And as you've been good enough to contribute to the platform today, can you tell us what JMI Wealth does? What are you guys primarily into?
JMI Wealth is primarily an investment advisory firm, Sean. So we look after people's money. We invest people's money. We've been doing it for 30 years. So our sort of, I suppose, the genesis of our firm was to try and put the client's needs first. So we look after everything from smaller clients right through to, sort of small trusts or large trusts and family offices as well. So very client focused, fairly conservative, and looking for another 30 years. We call it. We talk about investing for generations, Sean, which is we think in the long term, and with client interest always at the front.
Good on you. Hey, thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. You spoke a lot of sense. I've been lied to by TVNZ. How terrible. Have a great day, mate, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Andrew Kelleher there from JMI Wealth. Looks like we went wrong, and he seemed, reading between the lines, to be leaning towards there's nothing to see here. That was all just a bit of PR fluffery that led the 6 o'clock news 2 nights ago on TVNZ. Idiots. So we've got to find out if there is a deal or there isn't. Otherwise, it's just a big, bright, shining lie.